If you're over 35, eating clean, working out, and still not losing fat, this video is for you. I'm Dr. Laura Pfeiffer. I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I focus on helping women balance their hormones and feel confident about themselves so that they can do the things that light them up. And the biggest thing I get in my practice is that patients will come see me, and the strategies that used to work for them in their 20s just stop working. We're going to talk about all the reasons why. This video is going to chat about advanced fat loss for women over 35, hormones, metabolism, and muscle recovery. So, today we're going to talk about how to shift your focus from weight loss to body recomposition so that you will lose fat and keep your metabolism strong. So, the first thing we need to understand is weight versus fat versus recomposition. So, losing weight is not the same as losing fat. You can lose weight and still feel tired, frustrated, and feel like you don't love where your weight accumulates. So, a lot of patients come see me, and their biggest point of contention is now I have belly fat, right? I'm storing fat where I never used to store fat before in my late 30s and 40s versus in my 20s. Maybe I was having some of that weight shift around my hips and my thighs, right? And so essentially, recomposition looks at fat loss and muscle maintenance or muscle gain, right? This actually changes how your body looks, feels, and functions. And if you're losing muscle, which is typically what happens when we go on crash diets or we go on a deficit for a long period of time, or we aren't incorporating strength training with our weight loss plan, this slows down your metabolism. And this is why your diets backfire. This is why when you lose a significant amount of weight, it's so easy to gain it back because you don't have that metabolic buffer that you would have had in your muscle. And so I want to talk about how the scale doesn't show the full picture. You can be leaner, stronger, and healthier even if your weight hasn't changed much. So, why does your muscle become your metabolic advantage after the age of 35? I like to talk to my patients about your muscle being your metabolic currency. Why? Because it burns more calories at rest than fat does. And after 35, we naturally start losing muscle unless we are actively doing something to prevent that. When I talk to patients, most women are under eating protein and skipping the strength training. This is actually a double hit to the metabolism. Building or maintaining muscle after 35 is not optional. It is actually the foundation of keeping your metabolism, your blood sugar balanced, and the foundation of fat loss that is actually going to lead to long term results. So, the hormonal shifts that change the rules tend to happen right at that 35 and older mark. Again, as we start to enter perimenopause, your estrogen is like a roller coaster. One day it's going to be like you're in puberty, and the next day it's going to be like you are postmenopausal. These shifts change a lot of things, not just your ability to lose and gain fat, but we are talking about weight loss in this video. So I'm going to specifically talk about that. Estrogen declines and shifts your fat to your midsection. So that menopause or perimenopause belly that you feel that you have is definitely not in your imagination. This is something that happens as a real result of those hormonal shifts. Progesterone drops can also lead to weight retention or water retention, bloating, and just make us feel blah. Lower estrogen also impacts how well you respond to insulin, which means blood sugar swings, an increased risk of insulin resistance, which leads to fat storage mode, increased cravings, and so much more. And this is why what used to work in your 20s stops working now. We have to make sure that we accommodate for those hormonal shifts because those hormonal shifts are truly what is driving the bus. But that does not mean that there's nothing that we can do to fix them. This just helps my patients understand that the same plan that worked before suddenly stops working. Your hormonal environment has changed. And so we have to change the plan to accommodate for that. So, what exactly needs to change for fat loss to actually work now? Number one, you probably need more protein. We need to spread it out throughout the day, not just focus on our protein with dinner, for example, to help preserve that muscle mass. Secondly, you need to lift weights. Walking is wonderful. There are so many benefits to walking, and I would never encourage my patients to stop doing something they love, whether it's doing Pilates, walking with a friend, or just getting outside. This is obviously so good for so many things, but it is not enough to preserve muscle. So we need to be moving in a way that helps us preserve and gain muscle. You also need to stop chasing low calorie numbers and start chasing metabolic health. We need to start looking at the habits we do every single day as a step towards being more metabolically balanced rather than looking at it as a weight loss or fat loss goal. Changing your body composition and reducing your body fat percentage will actually increase your longevity and the years of your life that you can live in optimal health. And so looking at it from that perspective can really shift our mindset. When we look at the scale, this is just one indicator of how things are going. But when we shift our body composition, we might actually not see changes in the scale. And the most frustrating part is when my patients actually see the scale go up. When we see the scale go up, we automatically get frustrated and we throw it in the F it bucket, right? But what we need to realize is that when you're changing your body composition, you might actually just notice that your clothes fit differently, that your measurements, like your weight and or your waist and your chest and your thighs and your neck are different versus that scale being, super plummeting, 5 to 15 pounds. So, what I always recommend my patients do is get a scale that looks at body composition because what you might not notice is a shift in the scale, but what you might notice is a shift in your body fat percentage, in your muscle mass, in your bone, right? We're not just working out and just strength training to lose fat. What we're doing is we're becoming more metabolically balanced. We're building muscle. We're making sure that we maintain our bone mass because when we get older, one of the biggest risks or the big two risks are falls and fractures. And so if we can prevent that from happening, if you have a fall, that you're less likely to fracture something, you're going to be in a good spot health wise. We also need to manage our cortisol, our stress response, our insulin. We need to make sure that we are eating in a way that favors blood sugar balance and not blood sugar chaos. We want to understand that managing these things is just as important as our food and workouts. And if you're not building a plan around hormones, muscle, and recovery, you are going to hit a wall. If this resonates, leave a comment and tell me what part is feeling hardest for you right now. Subscribe for more videos. And next up, we are breaking down plateaus and how to outsmart your metabolism when it stalls.